So in this video, I'm going to discuss my situation with the Charleston In Mast Furler, where the sail doesn't want to come out very easily. And in fact, you might have to just come up on the foredeck and pull on the sail itself physically to get this thing out, because this unit, this drum furler that lives inside the I265-365E mast, it becomes very hard to rotate. It doesn't want to go back and forth. So proper maintenance, I think, would help, where you're squirting water down here and soap in these joints. However, that didn't work for me and the thing just locked up. So I'm going to go through what happened to me in this video, but this summarizes it and you can watch along at the various parts. But what I ended up having to do was loosen and drop this unit down, and then loosen these screws here, Loctite them so I could get a looser bearing situation. And additionally, I had 10mm rope originally, and I switched to Dyneema core polyester outside line, and this line is much thinner. What happened was the thicker line, this is Stay Set 10mm line from West Marine, it just swelled up and caused friction here in this area, and so I eliminated the source of friction. What I found that I needed to do also is to replace this unit totally. They don't sell individual parts for this unit, so you would have to disassemble it, which I attempted to disassemble it in this mast. This unit does not come out of the mast. The only thing you can do if you want to get this unit and take it out and work on it, in my estimation, is that you would need to, and the book, the Catalina 320, the Catalina 30 manual also states this, from Charleston, that you would have to pull the mast and take this unit and put it in from the bottom, which is really inconvenient. I'm also open to you leaving comments, and I would modify my description of this video to let you know what happens, or different ideas that people have had. But it's quite a pain in the ass, because when this thing freezes, a lot of times your sail is up or partially up, and you want to go into the mooring or the harbor, and sometimes it's not very convenient and a lot of wind that you have to go deal with this. So anyway, watch on, and I apologize for some choppiness in the video, but I got this halfway working. I ordered this part for $1,400. I'll tell you what the source is for it, and then in the next video I'll show you how easily that this thing rolls up. So this is the computer side of talking about the furling mast, and I'm going to include all the types of boats right here that you could find this mast on. So I believe that it's going to be roughly the same in furling mast setup as my Catalina 320. And the person that, this is a rigger, I believe, where you can buy these parts, where you can buy all the parts. So they have down here all the different parts, and you can buy those online. However, my problem is that the 320, um, the Catalina 320 unit that I'm having the trouble with is this unit here, and it doesn't appear that you can get this unit out of the mast without pulling the mast. So, and these bearings here, you can spray water in and you can put dry lube in. However, it's going to be a problem if the bearings seem to be fairly seized up and there's some rough spots where in my situation. So what I had to do was just on the end of these rods, there's a nut, I can show you later, that I had to loosen up and put blue Loctite on them. So that's kind of what I did, and the part number for the furling screw is this part number here, and I don't believe I have an alternative other than to order this part, this whole part. And of course, I would imagine that I could loosen these screws, but I'd have to do it in mast, and it turned out that one of these screws was not coming out. I could not get the bearing holder, that the thing that captivates the bearing. I could not get that off. So I'm going to show you, what I went through, but this is the Catalina 310 book. I'm going to show you here. So it's the Mast Furling handbook that Charleston put out, and it goes through all the parts. I'm going to just scroll down just in case you have a issue and you can't get a hold of this book. They also do tell you how to thread the line in, and this right here is about the best procedure I have found to show you how to thread the line in. And in this procedure, the guy did say you should use an 8mm line. So you can also look at the Catalina 320 document, and they're calling out Dyneema core with polyester, and that's what I ended up going with. So just stay tuned for the video, and I'll just kind of tell you everything I know, and then if you could add your comments about anything that you have found, that would be helpful. My situation is this unit here, which is attached to the main halyard. There's where it's hooked up. This moves freely and moves freely around, not an issue. Then slowly what happened is this thing stopped rotating, and I was just lucky. I had to kind of wrench it around. To where I could get the sail down through here. So I suspect, since this is kind of rotating a little bit like this, kind of free, and this lower part isn't budging at all, I'm suspecting that the problem is somewhere down below here. This worm drive thing here, there's some bearings in here, and there's this, kind of a worm drive, and it's attached by these 4 screws on each side of the mast. So I'm gonna look at pulling this unit and seeing where the problem is, where it won't rotate. Again, I'm just dividing it here between this area and this, and I'm unsure about whether I have to remove this bolt here. There's a bolt on the other side of this. So what I'm going to do is unscrew this and see if I can't drop this unit down and get it out. See what I have to do to get that out. I think this unit should just drop down. There's a couple other videos I'm going to show you on that. So what you can see here is I unscrewed the 4 screws, and then this looks like this unit is still remained attached. It's kind of hanging now by the halyard indirectly. So I'm pulling up the halyard and it's going up. So just a reminder, you want to use the halyard probably to support it, and then you can lift the halyard, you know, to lift the unit up. That's what I got it there. So you see it's kind of hanging on that edge right there. The unit is hanging on the edge. So I've got it hanging on the edge now. And then I've exposed this bolt here, okay? So it's not, I'm not really certain, but I think I might have to undo this bolt right here, and then possibly undo this screw. So I'm afraid what's gonna happen is, I'm not sure what's happening on the top of this mast. So I'm a little bit afraid to see, you know, what's going to be happening. How am I going to get this apart? So there's the setup, main halyard pulling up the unit, and the unit kind of overhanging there. Just trying to figure out how to release the unit from the spindle. So what I did was I'm suspending. I'm hanging on. The unit is sort of indirectly hanging on the by the halyard. So I got the halyard here, this line hooked on this thing here, and then so I'm just kind of rigged right now to where I've got like a variable, you know, tensioning where I can regulate the height of the halyard on based on, you know, what's going on here. I can just regulate it, pull it, you know, with this line here, so I can make micro adjustments here. And I've kind of proved to myself that it rotates very easily. You can see the mast is rotating easily, but this unit is not rotating easily. So it appears that, you know, this unit right here, the worm drive unit portion of the assembly is seized up. Perhaps these bearings here aren't working too well. Just to be clear on something, if I cause the halyard to go down, okay, this whole assembly, the track assembly, goes down. So it's unclear how this track assembly seats into the, you know, how far down it could go, you know. It's unclear how it works at the top. So if I take off this unit and I free it from the unit, I'm afraid that, you know, if I let it go and I take this thing out, I'm afraid it's just the track might fall off, you know, and that will be bad. So I'm not really sure what to do, but I'll clear it up later for you. Probably just edit the video a bunch. So anyway, here I've got the unit is, you know, up, and just trying to dislodge it from this piece right here, and I think I'm just gonna shoot for releasing this screw here, and then hopefully I'm thinking about using some vice grips to keep this in place, to keep the unit, the track side in place, to, you know, suspend it. Perhaps I'll feed the handle through, you know, a piece of line that's connected to the topping lift. But anyway, that's my issue right now. I'm gonna hit this with a hammer a couple of times. Okay, so I'm rigging a keeper line on this bar here. It's fed up through here. So I also have got a screwdriver down there that's keeping the bottom part up. So when I disassemble this, I can kind of have some different options, because again, I have to take this thing off, so it's gonna pretty much cause some I don't know, maybe some unexpected results. Disconnect this here. What happened was, it was really easy to get this guy to fall away from, you know, this guy here. The unit, the drive unit, the worm drive unit was falling away, but I have a keeper line attached to it. Boom. So it impeded its travel downward, and then so when that's falling away, what you have to do is find something to jam in there. Right now I've got this here, piece of starboard that's kind of got the correct dimension, just kind of securing it to the boom here, and that's going to keep, you know, this from traveling downward. And I think what I'll do is I'll just put back on the main halyard on that, and then, you know, kind of keep it in one place while I sort some of this stuff out. So you can see here that I have the original tack, sail tack, being held up by the halyard. This is the line that's tied to the halyard. So it's preventing this from sinking. I also have this piece of starboard to support it. You can kind of see that this is the socket that was originally connected here, but the worm drive has kind of fallen away, and here is one of the holes, the reference holes right here. So what we're going to do now is just, and this is being held up by a line that I have fed through the mast up here, just to kind of keep it. It's hanging on the furling line here. You could, and it's also tied to this bar right here. So that's then we're gonna pull the unit and see what is going on. 8mm thin wall. To 8mm thin wall to remove these screws. Like I removed this one here. It's 3 screws you got to remove. The thin wall socket. So what we have here is an I265-365E as in echo furling screw. That was Charleston, and you can see here where the line goes into the furling screw on the bottom, and then you have to extract this. You have to extract this. This nut locks down on it, so you got to extract that. So in general, the problem that I've been having is that this thing, if the bearings are still not so great, so I'm unable to get this unit out without taking apart this guy's parent top unit, and then I couldn't get the top off, and then there's bearings under there. So it leads me to believe that the only way to get this in a new unit, if you were to do it, you got to kind of pull the mast and then pull it from under, which is a bit of a hassle, but can be done. The other thing that I've discovered is the 10mm line. If you don't, you know, ideally what you want is you want Dyneema core with a polyester, dual polyester, and this line here was a standard stay set, I believe 10mm, and it frictions on this bar. On this bar here, there's friction on this bar. So I'm gonna get the new Dyneema lines, and so this is, and it's not like, it's turning, but not good. Anyway, I did take these screws out in hopes that I could pull the whole unit out and do a better job of cleaning it up, but it doesn't look like that's possible. So the issue is this ring here, it is stuck inside the mast and it won't. You can kind of see the mast parameters are such that it won't come out. I think for safety possibly. So the other thing is there's bearings here. I don't think you can see them, but there's bearings in here and they look like they're pretty good. So these things here, these screws here, there's 3 of them. Maybe you can see them. There's 3 of them. And so what I did was I tried to loosen these screws so I could pull this thing out. That captive, that basically holds the bearings in, and then I should be able to tilt this. Of course, I still got a problem probably with the other side. So this is a Catalina 320, or it looks like Catalina 30 has the same issue. So it's kind of like you're stuck with just cleaning these up the best you can do with Teflon, and then what you need to do when you put this, you can't torque these because it looks like it locked up the mechanism, right? So that wasn't good. So all I've been doing is just kind of Tefloning the bearings, the upper and lower bearings on this, and getting it to where it will move like this. But however, there is a tight area when I spin. I changed the line. I think I'm going to see if that, hopefully that will help. But I really am not seeing too much hope. And I think in the long term, it's a 20-year-old boat. I probably do want to pay the $1,400 and replace this. But getting the other one out, getting this out and the other one in is going to be a mast pull, I believe. So anyway, that's where I'm at now. What I'm going to do is probably thread some new line on there, and probably it's not recommended that you pull this unless you absolutely need access to these bearings, which aren't very easy to get to. Again, I've disconnected this. You have to make sure that you keep upward pressure on this piece here, and I've done that and suspended it. This is another pull that you can use if you did need to take this off. This is a handy little puller. The actual screw in-haul is a good puller. So I'll anyway, I realize that I've got a lot of editing to do on this video, and I apologize for the kind of choppiness. In my experience, I've loosened these bars right here, and you can kind of see here possibly there's a gap here where this plate here is lifted off of this a little bit because I have the screws undone. And this, in my experience, is maximum looseness, right? It's really loose. So my experience is when I tightened these screws down over here, it really made a difference. This was almost locked up. So my plan is probably just to use blue thread lock on this, clean these bolts here, and then use thread lock and kind of keep these loose. And there's a gap in here now. Probably just manage that gap. Maybe it's okay to have a little bit of a gap in there, I'm thinking, just to keep that bearings loose. So I did detect that there was some blue thread lock on these nuts. So I'm gonna put some solvent on these, and then I'm going to sample like the looseness, maximum looseness on the screw drive, and then I'm going to apply some blue thread lock and put these on, and hopefully I'll be good to go for a couple of seasons or something till I end up pulling the mast.